Thanks for joining me on the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Welcome back to the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle. I'm glad you're here. I want to read a review from Apple. This lovely parent says, brilliant and practical. I absolutely love Michelle and the relatable and practical approach she teaches with parenting, allowing our kids to experience their emotions and simply support them. Hold space. Don't try to fix it. Simply allow it. Try to model, not teach. Brilliant, she says. Thank you. Thank you so much. You are feeding right into my subject matter today, and I'm so glad you left this. I so appreciate it. Thank you very much. I love the reviews. I read the reviews. I know I probably shouldn't, but I love them. I think they feed my soul. So let's get into it. I want to talk about this idea. The idea is you should let your children fail. Yep, I said it. You should let them fail. You should let them fail now when the stakes are low. You should let them fail now while they're at your house. You should let them fail now where it's safe, where you can be supportive, where you can be empathic, and where you can guide them. You should let them fail now, and you should let them fail often. This is part of connected parenting. This is part of what I truly believe in. Failure is where we learn, and failure is where we grow. And I'm not talking just like failing a test or falling off your bike or some of the more obvious fails. I'm talking about fail when you say something wrong, fail when you were mean to your sister, the failure of being mean to your friend, the failure of gossiping, the failure of saying and doing the wrong things. So there are all kinds of failures we can have. And the ones, where you fall off your bike, those are great. I think they're important too. I think they're really, really important. Sure, I don't want people to come after me. Yes, we don't want our kids to get hurt. That is not what I'm talking about. I don't want your kids to hurt themselves. But in that too, let's be very careful here because we have gone to a place of over safety. Like, no, you can't climb up that. Oh my God, be careful. You're going to fall. Oh, don't do that. Be careful. We are very worried that our kids are going to get hurt. And I think we also drag that into emotional hurt too. We're very worried they're going to get hurt emotionally or they are going to, encounter something hard emotionally or encounter something hard in life. And many times we want to prevent that. We want to prevent them from skinning their knee, and we also want to prevent them from feeling bad about something. I'm all about not necessarily avoiding those things. I'm about going head first, and when you see them happening, not to come in and save and fix. Because you're altering the path of your child when you're doing that. And you're keeping them from failures that they need to have in order to learn. You're keeping them from falling down where they should. If they're climbing up something and they slip and fall, will that teach them how to learn how to climb up that thing a bit better? And we can say the same thing for emotions and feelings and interpersonal interactions. Will they learn how to be a better person by failing at being a person, so to speak? And when we don't add the punishment and consequence and the shame and the belittlement and the correction, when they do, we allow them to fail and feel that failure inside of themselves. And that is what really creates learning. So where are places we can let them fail? I'm talking about a lot of them, it's like the kid who gets up late in the morning. Well, maybe they missed the ride to school. And if they miss the ride to school, are they going to miss all their work? And if they miss all their work for the day, are they going to have to, make it up? And if they miss the day at school, do they miss their activities that day because they missed the day of school? Like there's lots of places to help kids learn about things. But I think many of us get in the way and we clear out those ways, because sometimes it's easier for us too, right? Sometimes it's harder to let our kids fail because we've got to pick up the pieces, or we have to rearrange our schedule, or we have to, maneuver in a certain way. Now, of course, we can't always let them fail if it is really impeding something that's important for us. I'm not saying that this is, 100% all the time you have to do this. If you're going to see if a kid is going to really hurt themselves, or if you have to do something and you can't allow the failure, of course, we have to be malleable. This is life, right? We can only do the best that we can do. We can't do it all. But there are lots of places to allow failure to happen and not to correct, give advice. I think one of the ones that really sticks out of my mind right now is you see your child being mean to their friend. And you are like, oh, why should you be mean to your friend? Why would you do that? You're thinking in your head, and you're like, oh, I'm going to have to tell her. Do you know what that does to somebody when you're mean to your friend? Do you understand what that's going to do to them? Do you understand what that's going to do to your relationship? What if they don't want to play with you anymore? Okay, so how does your child take that? Are they going to listen to it and self-correct and do the right thing? Or is it going to make them think that you think poorly of them? Are they going to get resentful? Are they going to get upset that you're judging them? Is this the place where you should be intervening? You're a grown person. Of course you know what to say and do. Your child's trying something on right there, right? They're trying on a mean behavior, or they're trying on a certain thing. And so do we let them try that on, and do we let them fail in it? Also, we don't know the full story as to what's happened between your child and the other child. Is it a retaliation? Was this other kid mean 2 days ago? They have their own relationship, and now we're getting ourselves in the middle of the relationship in order to keep our child from failing at this friendship. Or is it more important to allow them to experience a hard moment with their friend so that they can learn, oh, I don't really want to say that again. And now they've learned it on their own instead of learning it at the cost of the relationship they share with the adult who takes care of them, because it will make us look as if we are judgmental, or that we might be taking the other kid's side, especially if we didn't know what was going on in this moment. We didn't know, if that child had been mean earlier, and we're just taking that child's side. Our kid might think, and our kid might not think to tell us the whole story or even think about the whole story. Maybe they're young enough that they don't even know that they're retaliating or that they're being mean because their friend was mean, or who knows? Not our fight. Not our circus, not our monkey, right? This is our kids' circus. It's for them to figure out. And when we get involved and we push away all the obstacles and we tell them, and so what if you tell your child what to do and then they do it, and then they haven't really internalized it, and then they don't remember to do it next time because it wasn't really their thought? Or you tell them to do it and they can't do it because they can't access the right information. They're not ready to developmentally apologize in that way, or to come with some sort of amends, or whatever it is that we tell them to do. Now, will they cut us off and not tell us things because we've shown our judgment, because we've told them, I don't believe you can do it yourself. And there's that piece too. We give the kids a lot of trust when we allow them to fail. We trust that they will learn from their failures. Now, I have a kid who has to fail a lot, and sometimes at the same thing over and over. But that's okay. She gets there eventually. And I have to trust her that she's going to get there, that she's going to get to her internal mechanisms, that she's going to make a right choice sometime, somewhere, somehow. Just like me, I've made the same mistake over and over again, many, many times. And no person telling me that I made that mistake was going to help me learn any better. I needed to learn these things on my own, and so do our kids. And we have to trust them. And when we trust them, they feel that. When we trust them to do their life and make decisions, when we trust that they can make decisions, then they are better decision makers because they're practicing. But when we make all the decisions for them and we usurp, all of the interactions and we curate their life, is that connected parenting or is that actually permissive parenting? Because we're allowing them never to experience hardship. We want them to experience hardship. And when we experience hardship, we learn, I'm going to have a hard time, but guess who's going to be there? That's the other piece. Like, you have to be there when they're having the hard time. You can't just wash your hands of it and walk away and say, oh, well, that's what you thought you should do. I don't know if I'd do it like that. We don't do that. We also don't, say, I told you so. I told you not to do that. Instead, we come with empathy. Oh, she doesn't want to talk to you anymore. That's hard. I'm sorry. What happened? Oh, that's what happened. You guys had a tough moment. What do you want to do? We lean into empathy. We ask probing questions. We help them come to their own answer. We trust them. We trust that they'll get there because they will get there, because they're smart human beings, because they come from good families, because they understand what morality is. All you people out there listening to this podcast are great parents. I know you are. You wouldn't be spending your time listening to this dang podcast, would you? Your kids are good kids. They come from great families. They understand morality. Let them practice it. Let them fail. Let them figure it out. Let them do the wrong thing. Let them get off the path. Let them fall down. Let them pick themselves up by themselves so that they can learn resilience, so they can be emotionally and physically resilient, so that things don't take them down. Because if you don't let them experience it now, what happens when they do experience it when they're 23? And they're like, oh, wow, this was hard. I've never experienced anything so hard because I never experienced anything challenging because my parents just fixed it all for me. I had a client, she was a professor, English 101. I think I've talked about her before, but I have 300 and something podcasts, so that's okay. I'm going to say it again. She said there were a lot of kids that would come to her freshman English class who would not do well, but they had great grades coming in, and she would sit with them and say, what's happening? Why are you failing my class? And many of them, according to her, would say, my mom and dad took care, made sure I did my homework. My mom and dad make sure I turned my papers in. My mom and dad were always all over me. And so they didn't know how to manage. They didn't know how to take care of themselves. They had never had to. Everything got fixed for them. Everything was taken care of for them. We are here to grow up self-sufficient kids, not mamby-pamby kids who can't take care of themselves. That's not the kind of kid I want to raise. This is connective parenting. It is strong, grounded parenting. I'm here to raise resilient, self-sufficient children that aren't going to, now I say this now, God knows, going to call me every 10 minutes when they leave the house. Although I think there's a bit of that's going to happen, right? I'm anticipating this in the fall that Esme is going to call me every 10 minutes, be like, what do I do here? What do I do there? I don't know. We've been doing a lot of lessons, like do your laundry, call your doctor, take the car to get serviced. Like, you got to learn how to be an adult. And we've been working really hard on that this year. And she's pushed back every darn space where I've said, no, you got to do it. No, you got to get, no. And because I want her to be self-sufficient, because I don't want to put out a kid into this world that's going to struggle. Let her struggle here now. She's been struggling all year with making appointments and taking the car in, and she's been struggling. But I think it's important. And my kids will tell you, no, my mom doesn't do everything for me. I wish she did. I made Esme apply to college by herself. She had to do it. It was hers. That was her job. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to pick the schools. I'm not going to help you with your essay. I'm not doing this. I'm not filling the applications out. I am not doing any of it. This is for you. You need to do it. This is developmentally appropriate for you. That's why you apply to college, not me. And I feel that way about a lot of things because this is a strong parenting ideology, not a wimpy one. It's not necessarily gentle. It is strong and grounded. It's steady. it's not fixing everything for our kids. So don't fix everything, everybody. You'll get stronger kids for it, I promise. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast, and I hope you liked it. See you next time.